any stretch, but I think it's one that you don't see very often.
Right.
Drew, of course, if you didn't see it earlier, he's on a blue-white-red flash, or you could call it control. He calls it blue-white-red flash. He does have 8 flash creatures in the deck. That's 4 copies of Snapcaster, 4 copies of Restoration Angel, in addition to 4 copies of Augur of Bolas. He's got that Restoration Angel, Augur of Bolas card draw engine there, and then just a 1 of Thundermaw Hellkite to top out the curve and kind of end the game pretty quickly. In addition to 2 copies of War Leader's Helix, which talking to him, have already come in handy quite a few times with the Snapcaster, Helix, Snapcaster, Helix you.
Yeah, well, Drew's deck's really exciting because it's not actually a traditional control deck, which is why it'll be pretty good in this matchup. He has very few true sweepers. Remember, no Supreme Verdicts or Terminuses in the main.
Right.
He has Verdicts in the board, but that's about it. He has a fair amount of counter magic in the main and burn spells, but a lot of those he's planning to go to the Dome with.
So Drew with the first play of the game, and that is a turn 2 Augur of Bolas. Finds Pillar of Flame, Snapcaster Mage, and War Leader's Helix. He's going to take the Helix.
Yeah, you see, without too much thought, Drew opts for War Leader's Helix, especially in a matchup against Jund, which Drew's pretty sure his opponent's on. He just wants the higher, bigger impact cards. Remember, Jund is great at playing a lot of really high impact cards, so Drew's going to have to make sure that he's competing back by playing his own big spells.
Yeah, just judging by Patrick's first 2 lands, you see the Jund colors, so Drew is able to quickly determine what kind of deck his opponent is playing.
Now, in some matchups, this slow start from Jund would be really suspect. That's not true here at all. What's very likely is that Patrick has kept a hand with a lot of early removal spells and decided Augur Bolas simply isn't worth the removal.
Yeah. So it looks like Olivia Voldaren comes down off of a Cavern of Souls. Drew tried to dissipate it. Guess maybe the communication wasn't too clear, so he's going to just Helix it to deal with the Olivia and swing in for the second time with the Augur of Bolas.
Yeah, so clearly Cavern's set on Vampire. Drew just with a mental lapse there accidentally bins his Dissipate, but fortunately does have the answer to Olivia.
And a second Olivia from Patrick. Drew's going to have to try to find another answer to this second copy of Olivia, and Augur's going to go ahead and swing in. Patrick's going to let it through.
Yeah, well, Patrick would have to be worried. I mean, there is a Azorius Charm, which is what the trick Drew has. What Patrick would really be worried about there is if Drew has a Pillar of Flame. He'd really hate to trade that Olivia for a Pillar.
Exactly. And there you see the Azorius Charm is going to target that attacking Olivia. That's going to go on top. And we do have confirmation that Cavern of Souls was on Vampire, just to make sure we're all clear. I just don't want anybody else out there watching trying to dissipate Olivia. So Patrick's going to tap 5 here, and Rakdos's Return. Now, we already know Drew has spent a Dissipate. He doesn't have the mana for a Dissipate anyway, so Rakdos's Return resolves.
He does have 2 Syncopate in the main deck that could have been an answer to it, but neither of those in his hand. He has 1 card left that he's chosen to keep, and it appears to be a Sphinx's Revelation, which has got to be the best one you can keep.
Yeah, so Augur of Bolas gets in for 1. He has an Azorius Charm off the top.
It'll be interesting to see whether or not, I was going to say, Drew opts to keep the Azorius Charm or to cycle to try to hit a land for a bigger Sphinx's Revelation.
Yeah. So we'll see. He's unlikely to need the Azorius Charm this particular turn, at least for the removal aspect of it. It looks like he's going to go ahead and Sphinx's Revelation for 2.
Yeah, it's definitely a smaller Sphinx's Revelation than he'd be hoping to play. Because of how far behind he is here, I feel like he may... I kind of wish that he had saved the Revelation to try to get a little more value out of it than just 2 cards.
Well, that Augur of Bolas certainly is frisky today. He's already done. I mean, is that 6? Is that all from the Augur? Did Patrick actually play a land, a shock land untapped?
Yeah, Patrick's been hurting himself a lot with his own mana base. So the Augur's done 3 points, and the other 4 were done by Patrick himself.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense. But still, that's a.
And don't look now, but Drew's actually sneaking in with a fair amount of damage right now.
So we have a Sire of Insanity.
And that seems insane for Drew. Because Drew's hand isn't even that good.
He cycles Azorius Charm to draw a card, gets a Think Twice, and uses Think Twice to draw a card, finds a land, and Sire resolves, and
I think what Drew's trying to do there...
discard some lands.
Yeah, he was trying to dig into more creatures so that he'd have more fodder for his Moorland Haunt.
So Sire of Insanity sticks. It's going to stop the Augur of Bolus beats, presumably, at least for a moment.
So Drew flashing back Moorland. He flashes back off the Moorland Haunt. I don't think it seems like he's missed that he has a Restoration Angel in his graveyard.
Yeah, you can see it poking out there, but he may have not realized it. So we're going to see Olivia come down for Patrick.
A great top deck for Patrick. Remember, Drew has very few ways to actually deal with Olivia.
Yeah, and Olivia's going to
bite the Augur, turning him into a vampire.
Bite, that's the word I was looking for. And a Dreadbore for that Augur of Bolus. Wow, that Augur did a lot of work.
Well, I mean, Patrick can't keep the card, remember? So
that's true. It still did a lot of work. So Drew's going to get smashed by Sire and Olivia there.
Yeah, that's for 11. Drew's going to need an answer here, and he don't know what the 1 is. I think he used his Moorland Haunt.
Yeah, that's what the dice.
Yeah, but the Moorland Haunt.
Like it's just gonna.
Yeah, right. So use the die for Moorland Haunt. Augur of Bolus is played here, and I think he has a hit.
He does. Okay.
Hit Sphinx's Revelation.
It's an awkward hit.
Right, an awkward hit. Well, I don't know what card he's actually hoping to find. He's in a Revelation for 3 just for life gain, it looks like.
Yeah, life gain, and he's gonna, if he draws any more creatures, he's gonna have Moorland Haunt fodder, but that's not even great here because Olivia just moves it out of the way.
Yeah, so we see us think twice in 2 lands, all about to hit the bin. And actually, as if Patrick draws a land, he'll be able to win this turn. Actually, sorry, he'll be able to win this turn regardless. Just pinging, he'll have 2 6-power attackers by just pinging the Spirit token.
Yeah, he's tapped. The Moorland Haunt's tapped. Drew is tapped out.
Right, so Sire of Insanity just doing a great job here. It didn't need the help, I guess, of the top deck Olivia, but certainly that closed the game for him. We see here, as long as Patrick makes the swing, and that's a chump, that's still going to be a lot of damage.
Yeah, so maybe we might.
Yeah, we'll confirm on life totals here for a second, and it doesn't matter. Drew's next draw is also dead. So yeah, went to 1. Game 1 goes to Patrick Albergo.
Yeah, we saw the early slip up with the Dissipate, but I don't know how much that mattered. He did end up having an answer for the Olivia anyway. In the form of War Leader's Helix, so didn't make
and the fact that the second cavern was also on Demon,
right? It was
means that I think that Dissipate at the end of the day, that Dissipate was going to get discarded to the Sire of Insanity anyway. So
or the Rakdos' return, because I think he had it earlier.
Right.
So because Rakdos' return happened first, and Drew had 2 mana up at that point. Then again, if he had the Dissipate, he may have changed his plays and actually kept Dissipate up. Who knows? But
so we'd have that for the Rakdos' return.
Right. So
that does seem pretty reasonable.
Been different, but sometimes,
sometimes
things get lost in the
lost.
shuffle. It looked like Patrick just went, Cavern, Vampire, Olivia. And sometimes, I don't know. I guess it's mental lapse there.
Right. So Drew Levin in a little bit of a hole here. Remember that Albergo has a pretty decent sideboard, we'd felt, for a Jund deck. He has a second Sire of Insanity, he has 2 Slaughter Games, he has another Rakdos' return, he has a Deadbridge Chant, and another Liliana. All of those seem like pretty reasonable cards in the matchup, and that's one of the best parts about Jund is a deck that just sideboards very well.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those decks that's so well-rounded already. It has access to so many good kind of cards. I mean, it's a good stuff deck, and, you got good stuff in your sideboard.
Yeah, it
kind of follows naturally.
It certainly is a lot stronger than Drew's sideboard, at least in this matchup. Drew has 2 Thundermaw Hellkites that he can board in if he wants to go bigger. Outside of that, a lot of his cards, Dispel, Supreme Verdict, Purify the Grave, Is It Staticaster, really aren't very effective in this matchup. Right,
he's got 2 copies of Renounce the Guilds, which are nice answers to Sire of Insanity, which we assume that a second copy's coming in for Patrick. You saw how effective it was in that match, or in that game, I'm sorry. But other than that, I'm trying to look for targets for Renounce the Guilds. Besides that, it's just Olivia. I mean, and that's a big one.
Yeah, so, Olivia certainly is a big one there.
Right, so he's gonna have access to 2 Renounce the Guilds for Olivia and Sire of Insanity. But essentially, I think that's everything that he's able to. I mean, a Deadbridge Chant, if that's actually.
Yeah, I know. I think
live.
he probably would board in the Deadbridge Chant. This was the kind of matchup where you wanted Staff of Nin in the past, and we've seen Deadbridge Chant in a lot of decks. take the place of Staff of Nin. Both of them are pretty much the same card. They're a 6-mana card that says draw an extra card every turn with some incidental value. The difference is that, you know, Staff of Nin deals 1 damage per turn, whereas Deadbridge Chant will cast your creatures for free.
Yeah.
So there's a trade-off. Both of them are pretty much the same kind of card. Staff of Nin came in this matchup, so I expect Deadbridge Chant will as well.
So that'll be another card that Renounce the Guilds can hit. And, you know, he's got 2 copies of it, but you got to think, you know, with 4 copies of Snapcaster Mage, it can effectively represent more copies of Renounce the Guilds if he needs it. He's got 3 in the, I'm sorry, he's got 3 total, 2 in the board, 1 in the main, and yeah, I think he's going to bring those in. Possibly the negate, I mean, for cards like Rakdos' Return, which he did see.
Negate will almost certainly come in on Drew's side. Some of the cards he's most scared of are Planeswalkers, Rakdos' Returns. There are enough non-creatures cards out of Patrick's deck that Drew would certainly bring in the negate. And actually, we've seen Drew's opener. He has 2 Thundermaws in his opener, so he has brought in at least one, presumably both of the Thundermaws from his sideboard.
Also a Renounce the Guilds there, an Azorius Charm, a Moorland Haunt, a Sphinx's Revelation, I think.
Yeah,
Not
so
confident
it's really a late game hand that Drew's opted to play with here. And he feels that there's no pressure, no time pressure in this game. You know, I think the scariest thing that he could face down would be a turn 3 Liliana of the Veils. His deck has very few answers to it. Outside of, well, what we saw here, which is just a stream of Thundermaw Hellkites.
So Farseek is the first spell of the game, and that's from Patrick's side of the board. So he gets a jump.
Now, I think Drew doesn't have any more lands, and I know he drew a Steam Vent, the Sulphur Falls, so part of me thinks that means he kept a 2-lander, which is very a daring move if that's what he did.
Yeah, I think he may have kept the 2-lander, but he did draw a 4th land, and we have a Thragtusk from Patrick there on his turn 4, able to get that a turn early off of the Farseek.
Yeah, and I don't like Drew's keep at all. He bricked on turn 4 there, and because he has no white mana, he can't cast a single card in his hand. And we're just going to watch as he gets buried under Patrick's 5-drops.
Yeah, so Patrick now follows up that Thragtusk with a Garruk Primal Hunter, and Drew finds a 5th land, is able to deal with the Garruk with the Thundermaw Hellkite, which just comes down immediately attacks.
Yeah, he's got to be so concerned with his life total right now. Patrick is putting him down to 7.
Now we know he's got another Hellkite. He's got actually 2 more Hellkites in hand. So there's a Putrefy from Patrick's going to deal with the first Hellkite, and he's going to follow that up with Farseek.
The issue is that Drew's not going to be able to cast his spells fast enough.
Right.
He has so many things he needs to do. He needs to get a creature down. More importantly, he needs to answer both halves of a Thragtusk while only on 7 life. He has no white mana. The only cards he can cast are the Hellkites. This is going to be exceedingly difficult for him. Not to mention the fact that if any removal spell from Patrick is pretty much game over for Drew.
So Drew looks like, okay, now he untaps, draws, finds a Rewind.
Yeah, a card that would have been great to turn earlier, but not very good right now.
Yeah, so it looks like Thundermaw Hellkite comes down, and that's it. That's all Drew is able to play.
He's got to hope for no kill spell. And judging by the pace here, I don't think Patrick has the kill spell yet.
Yeah. Looks like Patrick is willing to trade the front half of a Thragtusk with the Thundermaw Hellkite.
And if you're Patrick, you got to swing them both.
Yeah, so both creatures coming in. Drew's going to drop to 4 here.
Interesting decision for Drew Levin on this, whether or not he wants to eat the 3/3, go to 2, which is what he's going to do, or make a pair of 3/3s. I do like this play more. But
another Thragtusk for Patrick to replace that Beast token that he just lost to Thundermaw Hellkite, and now Drew off the top finds a Restoration Angel that is a dead card.
Yeah, another white card for Drew. Yeah, a really rough hand for him to have kept. It's very unlikely that he'll get to play most of these cards before the game is over. Even if he draws a white land, you know, he has so little time to play his spells.
So there you see both Thragtusks trading off with both Thundermaw Hellkites.
Yeah, and that actually should be the game for Drew. There's no card he can draw to help him. All his cards are white, and if he draws a white card, his current hand doesn't stop 2 3/3s. So I don't believe there's anything for him to draw to. We'll double check that. He did find a white. Yes, Renounce
the Guilds doesn't do anything.
Yeah, he can only play 1 spell, and he doesn't have a spell that deals with 2 creatures. At least not that I can tell.
Yeah.
Unless he may have a Sphinx's...
He does have a Sphinx's
That doesn't do
Revelation.
anything either. That only gains 3 life, and he's
Yeah.
going to take 6. So that puts him to 5. And I believe this is it. I don't think Drew has an answer in his hand.
Yeah,
Yep.
and that's it.
Shows all
So,
white cards. So Patrick Albergo in quick fashion dispatches Drew Levin 2 games to 0.
Yeah, that was